What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you guys are having an awesome day. I had to take a quick little break, go get myself a coffee. But today we're going to be talking about the main variables that you need to test. Okay. So these are the variables that you're going to be testing when you're actually running and managing this funnel. Okay. In simple terms, I really want you all to understand that at the end of the day, this entire thing, you are managing sales funnels and sales processes. Okay. From getting somebody into your sales funnel, which is becoming aware of you, right? To then them actually converting and becoming a paying customer. So if they see you here and they pay you here, everything that's in between. That's what I mean by sales funnel, okay? So these are going to be the main variables that you need to be testing in order to see success and continuously manage and improve that entire efficacy of that sales funnel, okay? So obviously offer variables, ad creative variables to test, ad copy variables, and funnel variables, all right, is what we're going to be discussing today. So let's talk about testing your offer, okay? So excuse me. So when it comes to making the biggest difference in terms of client acquisition, obviously offer is the first thing that comes to mind, okay? If you don't have a good offer in the agency space nowadays, it's going to be very, very hard for you to stand out, okay? So you need to have a very good offer. Okay. The offer can be around maybe it's your price point, right? Maybe it's some sort of crazy deal you're running as a price point. Maybe it's the fact that you can just create insane results for that client that you work with in a certain amount of time through this specific process or system that you deliver. Okay. But you have to be willing to test your offers and see what sticks with your industry. The best way to build an offer is to understand what your industry truly wants and what they desire, right? And you have to be able to speak their language. The more that you can speak their language, the more you'll be able to resonate with them, okay? And then the other thing is make sure that you give yourself enough time to actually test this offer adequately. Because here's the thing. You might have all these different offers that you're running with, but if you're only testing it for a day or you're testing it for a week, even just 1 month, it's not really enough time. Okay. You need to be able to give it enough test data in a sense. Okay. It's not really based off of time. It's based off of like how many eyeballs have seen that offer and how many have converted. Okay. That's going to be the biggest variable. Okay. So that's about testing your offer. Now, when it comes to ad creatives, obviously you can be testing different hooks. Okay. These are pretty much just the first 5 seconds of your video or the first sentence of your video that you're going to be testing. So, you can dive into different hooks to call out your audience, different hooks to identify the problem that your audience typically is currently trying to navigate through. Maybe it's, different roadblocks they're navigating through. Maybe it's just you get straight into the solution that you're providing. Whatever it is, just figure out different hooks of your video, okay, of your ad. That's going to be the biggest thing. And then obviously test the ways that you're communicating the value that you provide, right? Testing the backgrounds that you're filming in. It might sound stupid, but filming in your office, maybe walking around, maybe being outside. There's so many different ways to actually test ad creatives. You just have to get creative with it, okay? And then in short, it's just important to write out your scripts before you film your ads. So make sure that your script sounds a little bit different. Okay. Every time I go to film an ad, I always just go onto like my iPhone or onto my Mac and I script everything myself. Okay. It's not Chat GPT. I script everything myself and I make sure it sounds good. And I make sure it's using language that resonates with my ideal audience. Okay. Now, the other side of this is ad copy. Okay. So test, the short form, the medium form, the long form. Test what is going to work better within your business. Okay. For cold campaigns, my agency, we personally find that medium length copy works really, really well. Okay. For retargeting, you can always get into shorter form content. Okay. But just make sure you're willing to test these things because everything works different for everyone. It also depends on what kind of campaigns you're launching. If you're sending people directly to your VSL, you might want to test different kinds of copy, right? That's going to align with the way that they're being navigated through it, right? If you are doing something more of a lead form based Facebook campaign, well, you're going to want the ad copy to somewhat match with that, right? You need to make sure, and this is something I learned very early on in the e-commerce space, because if you have ads that don't really align with what is even communicated on the next step of that journey, that usually leads to more bottlenecks and that leads to a low conversion rate. But if you have an ad that in the creative and in the copy and the headlines, everything everything aligns very well to what's going to be done in the next step of that funnel, whether it's someone clicking to your opt-in page, whether it's someone clicking to your VSL page, to your calendar page. Maybe it's going to a lead form page. Maybe it's going to your DMs. Like whatever your ad is, it needs to very much align with what the next step of that funnel is going to be. Okay. That is the biggest and best piece of advice I can give you. Okay. When it comes to testing different things. And then obviously with your funnel variables, the biggest things that we have found at our agency is obviously changing the headlines of your opt-in page and your VSL page. So making sure you're split testing different headlines, different offers, right? The way that they're written and the language and verbiage that you use, adjusting the guarantee and the offer in your VSL page, split testing, having lots of information on your site compared to having just your VSL and a call to action, right? These are all things that you can be testing. So it's really important that you become very good at just analyzing the data. You can make this very simple. Like literally have a spreadsheet and just write down like, okay, we've spent this much on ads, we generated this much clicks, this many people have come to this part of our funnel. And then from this part of the funnel, they've clicked on this link that brings them to this funnel and to this one. And you're just breaking it down to see how many people are dropping off at each stage of your funnel. And the goal is to ultimately have as little possible of people fall off from the point of you actually getting in touch with them, right? That's why we very much encourage you all to have that opt-in funnel, because if people are opting in with their name, email, phone number, you're catching them very early on in your sales journey, which is going to give you a lower cost per acquisition or a lower cost per contact. So now all you have to do is dial them up and have that conversation, right? So this is a great example of how like my agency, when we used to just send people to our VSL page, how we optimized our strategy so that we could take our calls from anywhere from $55 to $100 per booked call to taking them to like $15 to $20 per booked call. Okay. We literally we cut our acquisition costs directly in half just by having their name, email, phone number. Okay. Very, very simple. So I really want to encourage you guys, never stop testing, whether it's your ad copy, your funnel, your ad creatives, your offer, your guarantee, whatever it is. You'll never stop testing. As long as you are in the agency space or the marketing space, you're always going to be testing something. Okay. So just get used to it. Okay. It's kind of the name of the game. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. I really encourage you guys, like the weekly Q&A calls, hop on those calls and ask us questions about your ad copy, your creatives, your funnel, all this stuff, because we can give you feedback and advice on it. All right. Some of the best decisions I made back in the day when I was really starting my agency was I leaned on my coaches who I had hired about stuff like this, because I knew that it worked. I knew that other people were doing it and I knew that it worked, but I needed to figure it out for myself. And it all relays back to literally everything here. Even though this is like such a simple module, I'm telling you, it's going to make the biggest difference. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your day and we'll see you guys in the next module.